On our broadcast tonight, the rematch, Obama and Romney swinging at each other again today after last night's tense debate, a big change from the first one. Tonight, our political team on what happened and how it played. Breaking news, the FBI says it's foiled a plot to blow up a big banking target with a 1,000-pound bomb. Tonight, details of the sting at the center of this story that's still unfolding. Finish line for one of the world's most celebrated athletes, Lance Armstrong. Sponsors are dumping him as he steps down from his own charity. And Daily Dose, the fresh evidence tonight that multivitamins, the kind millions of us take every day, could actually cut the risk of cancer. Nightly News begins now.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams.
Good evening. Those who were hoping a different President Obama would show up at last night's second presidential debate, they got their wish. In terms of energy, the dynamic between the two men, the tempo of the conversation, the body language, genuine flashes of anger, last night was very different. Some said more like a street fight between Obama and Romney. And while a lot of facts were thrown around that stage, a lot was said. There were some enduring images and enduring lines, like the Mitt Romney quote about binders full of women, which took on a life of its own today. And here are some numbers to consider as we get underway tonight. We're under 500 hours to go until this election. And so far, both campaigns have spent just under $1 billion to get elected. Think about what all that money could buy. Back to where this race stands. Chuck Todd and Andrea Mitchell here with us in the studio. And Chuck, a new day after a very different event.
You know, absolutely, Brian. You know, if it wasn't clear to you before, it should be now. The two men vying for the presidency, they don't really like each other very much. Barack Obama and Mitt Romney clashed in what may have been one of the most contentious and heated debates of the modern era.
President Obama and Mitt Romney picked up today where they left off during their contentious debate last night.
Mitt Romney's trying to sell you a sketchy deal. We are not buying it. We know better.
When it comes to his policies and his answers and his agenda, he's pretty much running on fumes.
The only thing missing from today's exchange, the interruptions, finger-pointing, and glares that dominated last night's town hall.
I had a question, and the question was, how much did you cut them by?
You want me to answer
How much did you cut them by?
I'm happy to answer the question.
All right, and it is? Government land is down.
No, it isn't.
Production on gas is down 9%.
It's just not true.
Mr. President, have you looked at your pension? Have you looked at your pension?
I've got to say.
Mr. President, have you looked at your pension?
You know, I don't look at my pension. It's not as big as yours, so it doesn't take as long.
This remark drew a gasp from the audience.
You'll get your chance in a moment. I'm still speaking.
And at times, moderator Candy Crowley struggled to keep them in line.
That Detroit answer and the rest of the answer, way off the mark.
Just 1 second, because this is important.
But the candidates engaged so intensely that the questioners appeared to take a back seat. Mr. Obama struggled when a skeptical 2008 supporter asked why he deserves re-election.
We've gone through a tough 4 years. There's no doubt about it. So the point is, the commitments I've made, I've kept. And those that I haven't been able to keep, it's not for lack of trying, and we're going to get it done in a second term.
I think you know better. I think you know that these last 4 years haven't been so good as the president just described, and that you don't feel like you're confident that the next 4 years are going to be much better either.
Mr. Romney's response to the issue of equal pay for women became a target today.
In what new ways do you intend to rectify the inequalities in the workplace, specifically regarding females?
Romney ignored the equal pay issue and talked about his record appointing women to top jobs in Massachusetts. But the words he chose quickly lit up social media.
I went to a number of women's groups and said, can you help us find folks? And they brought us whole binders full of women.
Finally, a pointed question to the president on the attack that killed the American ambassador to Libya turned into a rough moment for Mr. Romney.
Who was it that denied enhanced security, and why?
I am ultimately responsible for what's taking place there.
It was very clear this was not a demonstration. This was an attack by terrorists.
The day after the attack, Governor, I stood in the Rose Garden and I told the American people and the world that we were going to find out exactly what happened, that this was an act of terror.
You said in the Rose Garden, the day after the attack, it was an act of terror. It was not a spontaneous demonstration. Is that what you're saying?
Please proceed, Governor.
I want to make sure we get that for the record, because it took the president 14 days before he called the attack in Benghazi an act of terror.
Get the transcript.
Debate moderator Candy Crowley intervened.
Let me call it an act of terror.
Can you say that a little louder, Candy?
Here's what the president said in the Rose Garden the day after the attack.
No acts of terror will ever shake the resolve of this great nation.
But to Mr. Romney's point, the president earlier in those same remarks appeared to imply that protests sparked the attack. In fact, Mr. Romney's entire line of questioning last night did appear to anger the president.
Would play politics or mislead when we've lost 4 of our own, Governor, is offensive.
Now, there is one more debate, of course, Brian, that happens on Monday. It's on foreign policy, but they will share the stage before then, tomorrow night. One of the big traditions in presidential politics, the Al Smith dinner. The two of them will speak back to back. My guess is a little less contentious.
Chuck Todd here with us in New York to start us off. Chuck, thanks. Boy, it was chilly in that room. And now to the reaction to what we all saw on that stage last night. Andrea Mitchell was also there last evening and has been following opinions all day today. Andrea.
And the opinions keep coming, Brian. Indeed, we circled back today to some of the questioners from the debate and to others watching from home who thought the candidates argued too much and didn't answer what they were asked.
The governor says that
they had front row seats to history, but today some of the undecided voters chosen to ask questions were not entirely happy with what they heard. Susan Katz got to question Mitt Romney.
I know he's a very bright man, but I got the feeling that he likes to be in charge, and he doesn't necessarily allow for other people to express their points of view. What is the biggest difference between you and George W. Bush, and how do you differentiate yourself from George W. Bush?
Great. Thank you, and I appreciate that question. I just want to make sure that I think I was supposed to get that last answer, but I want to point out that I don't believe.
I don't think so, Candy.
I don't believe.
I want to make sure our timekeepers are working here.
Romney did go on to explain that he and Bush are different people with different policies. Katz was put off by his manner.
He took time to continue the debate on another issue before he addressed my question. That was his style last night. He seems to have the last word. That was disappointing.
Catherine Fenton asked about equal pay for women,
specifically regarding females making only 72% of what their male counterparts earn.
Romney's response to her about recruiting women was that comment about binders that went viral. We called Fenton today, who is still undecided, faulting both candidates.
You know, I can't say that I felt my question was answered by either candidate explicitly.
Fenton, like Divya Raj, who watched with NBC's Ron Allen, also didn't like all the bickering.
I did think the interaction between them was really aggressive. I thought it was a little rude at times. So that's not something that I was fond of.
On both of their parts?
Yes, I think it was they were both equally rude.
That was a widely shared opinion.
It just turned me off. I think they were both like kids trying to get at one another, one-upsmen. And it was ridiculous.
How much did you cut them by?
You want me to answer
How much did you cut them by?
Some viewers did simply enjoy the spectacle.
There were times when I thought that there might be some shoulder bumps or maybe some shoving involved, but it was definitely entertaining television.
That it was. Both campaigns today still arguing over the issues they debated last night, but a lot of people watching the debate reacted more to the candidate's style than to the substance. Brian?
As we said, it was chilly in that room at Hofstra last night. Andrea, Chuck, thank you both.